Have a look around the classrooms, talk to the students. Like I said, we've got a few here this evening, feel free to talk to them. Talk to some of the past pupils, again they're here. See the simulators, look at the airplanes. You know, if you can take a flight on a light aircraft, you'd be surprised how much people want to start flight training and they've never sat in a light aircraft before, and it's quite a unique experience, not exactly for everybody either. So maybe do that, and of course then get a medical, that's going to be quite important as well. Okay. Right. The training programs. Well, the training programs, to get into them, it's quite important. Obviously, you've got to do an aptitude test to start and get into the course. It's very important that you're well equipped from the get-go. It's a very intense training course, so it is important you hit the ground running. So the aptitude test will point you in the right direction. If it's not for you on the date, then come back and do it another time when you've put in a bit of prep and you're good enough to start the course. The integrated airline pilot training program is the most popular one we run in Afta at the minute. Yeah, there are some modular pilots that come through, and integrated, I suppose, is the one-stop shop to get everything done in one go. And the modular pilot training method is kind of, we refer to it as a building block method. It's very good. It's the way that I would have trained actually back in the day, because integrated wasn't around back then, but modular pilot training is quite good, but probably a bit more for people who are working and only available 1 or 2 days per week. But on a full-time basis, the integrated is the way to go. Sorry. So the aptitude test, the Afta aptitude test, well, what do you have to do? It's computer-based, so there's a kind of an aptitude test. It's an online compass test. After that, you go and do a simulator check. And again, now the simulator check, this isn't to see that you know how to fly an airplane. This is actually just to see that you can be taught. We need to know that the training platform of the person is in the right place. So to be able to take instruction is very important. You know, we can see cockpit attitudes and cockpit values very quickly with people. And it's important that we know that we're working with the right people as well. And then it finishes up with an interview. And in the interview, there's some tech questions and that kind of thing. But again, your passion to want to fly, your passion to want to become an airline pilot needs to shine through to be successful here. So the course itself, well, it's full-time, 16 months. You immerse yourself really into Cork, into your surroundings here at the airport for 16 months. It's very, very, very intensive. Yes, it is akin to actually squeezing 4 years of college into 16 months, and that's why we need to be sure from the get-go on the aptitude tests and on the assessment phase of it that you are ready for this, because it's tough going. And it's important that you get through this quickly and on time and on budget. So what we need to make sure is that you finish in the shortest time, it reduces costs, and you're employed sooner. That's the most important thing. You get out, you're into the jobs market, you're employed and you're earning a salary sooner rather than later. The modular method, this is the building block one. This is the kind of way that I did it, where you work and you study and you work and you study. And you know, people who are working and they've got family commitments, or they're travelling from outside of Cork or whatever to get into the airport, that can be a bit tricky for them. It's a bit of you know, it's a fine way to do it. Like I say, I did it, but versus an integrated course, you'd have to argue that the one-stop shop method is the way to go here with this. You get the exact same license at the end, black book. One is modular, one is integrated. It doesn't really make any difference, they're the same thing. But the modular generally takes a little bit more, because of the stop-start method in it. It can cost a little bit more. There's a little bit more flight time involved in it as well. So don't be thinking that you're going to save a whole pile by not doing an integrated course. Some of the benefits, well, everything is done under one roof, pretty much here in Cork. We don't really go anywhere else, with the exception of Waterford or Shannon. So you're in Ireland for the whole thing, which gives you exposure to real weather training. Real weather training is quite important. We're quite proud of the fact that our students and our pilots fly in quite tricky conditions, and they're weather aware, I think, from the get-go, and they're used to dealing with a tricky climate. It stands to them as they go on into the airlines, and some of the feedback we've had from the airlines, which has been excellent, particularly Ryanair, have said that our pilots come winter ready, which is a nice thing to hear. Ground training, that's all covered in the programs. You do all of our programs, or out of program hours on the 737 sim, which is quite handy. So if you want to do a refresher on the 737, if you're flying further down the track, you want to do a bit of a refresher, you're getting an interview with some other company or whatever the case may be, you can hire out the simulator and work away. Importantly, especially when we visit the UK market, they don't really believe that it's as cheap as it is here in Cork. I know not everybody's got 75 or 80,000 euros hanging around their couch at home, but there is no VAT on training in Ireland, and that's a significant advantage actually for us when it comes to trading across Europe. But particularly in the UK market, they struggle to believe that we're not applying VAT here. So that's kind of a little advantage, or at least a 23% advantage. And then at the very end, the most important thing for me anyway, is that when you finish as a graduate with Afta, you embark on something called a professional development program. So instead of us just kind of shaking your hand and saying in the car park, great, listen, thanks very much for coming, we were delighted to train you, best of luck in your future career, we actually kind of bring you back and prepare you, because you'd be surprised the amount of 18, 19, 20-year-old guys and girls, some people in their 30s who've never done a job interview. They've not prepared for one, they mightn't have done one for 10 or 15 years. And the professional development program is a combination of a recap of flight skills in the simulator and kind of a HR input to make sure that you're rounded and you're ready for an interview. And the good news for us is that our graduates are 95% successful with the airlines that they apply for at the moment.